Sardegna Road Track B is a fictional circuit made for the Gran Turismo Sport game, and the circuit you're looking at the moment is Sardegna Road Track B, a shorter version of the whole main Sardegna Road Track. The track in front of you has a huge amount of elevation change, as you can see Walwood, San Dimolo going through at this moment in time, and that is the challenge for the drivers here tonight in the opening round of week 3 of the GT Sport Season 2. Hello and welcome. Hopefully we will have, as of last week, Jay Elliott joining us in a bit. My name's David Whitehouse, and we will be heading into the second half of the season with this event. 4 rounds have gone, and we've only had 2 winners this season, even though we've had the close racing. It's 2 apiece for Nathan Maximin and Ryan Sandell. We will just go through the championship order for you, so that gets all the things out the way. Currently you have Ryan Sandell leading the championship after 2 wins and 2 third places, leaving him on 70 points at the top of the table, but he is only 1 point ahead of Nathan Maximin. 8 points further back is Steve Brown, Super GT himself, still well in contention for his title. A poorish race 4 just let him down slightly, but he can close that back up, that is for certain. Martin Robinson sits a strong 4th, but 19 points back from the lead, and Tim Clark, who actually missed the opening rounds due to connection issues, is now sitting 5th in the championship, equal with Callum Brewell and Trevor Randall. Mark Ridout sits in 8th after, and will be looking to repeat his performance from the team versus team event yesterday, which you can find on this channel itself. Jack Cameron Drayton in 9th, and Kiev Kalarai sits in 10th. So that's the top 10 in the championship. Sam Dimolo, Eric Mignon, Peter Harris and Alex Wilmot rounds out the runners and riders for this championship. In the team standings, SR Down lead the way by 9 points over Frey Bentos Racing. So that is 2nd place in the championships team, leading 1st place in the championships team. BB Racing sits in 3rd ahead of Last and Furious, while Team Quadrant will be looking to improve on their 5th in the championship, but only sitting 17 points back off the lead. So it's very close between those teams at the moment. We are currently in a practice session. I have the live chat up, so if anybody wants to leave a message, feel free to, and we will try our best to answer them. Currently Tim Clark is fastest in this practice session. But that will mean nothing for qualifying. For those who haven't joined us before, the opening race of today will have a 10-minute qualifying session and a 20-minute race in these Aston Martin cars that you can see in front. The second race of tonight is at Circuit de Catalunya, where we will be having a tyre wear race with their chosen GR3 cars, around the home of the Spanish Formula 1 Grand Prix. But that we will come to later on tonight. So we will wait and see when Jay Elliott will join us. I have seen he's in the lobby, so he will probably be joining us in the chat at some point soon. as Nathan Maximin goes quickest. He's been very quick in testing for Catalonia from what I've just heard, so it'd be interesting to see how he gets on. You can see the cars are currently going around with the lights on. This is because these two events this week are going to be dark races. Depends on your definition of dark. I think the camera angles that we'll be using probably won't make it as dark as it could be, but you never know. It depends on the latest setting they can send. As you can see, Trevor Randall is now looking to go fastest after setting purple in the first sector. The qualifying session is due to start at 9 o'clock, so we'll just be waiting for that to come round. So before, just waiting for Jay to join us in the lobby, in the chat. Shouldn't be too long, as he has just been taking part in an event. You can see the darkness setting in on that camera angle, especially the long camera angles. But while we've got the chance, I think we'll go for a little lap of the Sardinia circuit, and we'll go on it with Tim Clark, who did a brilliant job in the opening, in the second two races, considering he missed round one, and he's now sitting 5th in the championship. So as he dives into the final corner and heads out onto the pit straight, he's behind his teammate Kirv Kalirai, so he'll be looking to get a bit of slipstream as Kirv actually pulls over, trying to get rid of a penalty. And Tim heads up over the hill into a bit of a blind braking area for turn 1. Sharp left corner, down to second gear to get the power on out of it, through this full power through turn 2 and 3, as Ryan Sandell sits on the outside there, and down into third gear for turn 4. A shift down to second for Tim, runs it out wide, gets back across the track for turn 5. Now the camber in this corner does help you, but can throw you off on the exit because it just stops completely. But that was well done by Tim, used all road through turn 6, flat out, into turn 7, and he heads into a hard braking area for the uphill turn 8, 90-degree corner. He actually runs wide into the gravel there, so probably not the best lap to follow. And he gets back going again, and we've got into turn 10, and this is important because you need to run out of this corner all the way through to the start finish line. There is a slight braking area into the final corner, but not a huge one, so you want to keep momentum up here. And you'll see him drop down 2 gears into this final corner actually, get on the power early and head back across the line. And that is a lap of Sardinia Road Track B. And as you may have just seen, I think Jay Elliott has just joined us.
Technically speaking, yes, I have just joined. I'm just about to tuck into my dinner, so
no, that's absolutely fine. If you head off for your dinner,
come back on in a few minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, just send me a message when you're back, and then I will get you to join.
I'll announce myself. Well, I did just do a couple of laps. I was tempted to race. I really like this track and I really like the car. But
you can go race if you want.
No, I don't think so. I think I'm going to eat my dinner and relax.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you. Go and enjoy.
Right, dude. Speak to you in a bit.
Yeah, speak to you in a bit. So that is Jay Elliott, our former Club 100 racer, now sprint racer, and he will be joining us for the commentary, sort of like Martin Brundle, shall we say. Not that I'm calling myself Murray Walker, probably more Jonathan Ledgard. But anyway, it is getting darker as we go round this circuit, and currently in the practice session, we have Ryan Sandell fastest and Nathan Maximum second. There's a shocker. But the top 5 covered by 0.3 of a second, so it's a very close session so far. And it's good to see Trevor Randall up there in the Lightning McQueen Aston Martin. Trevor, who hasn't had the best start to the season so far, sitting equal on points with Tim Clark and Callum Burrell, fighting for 5th in the championship. But I think Trevor would have wanted a little bit more from the series so far, so he will be hoping that his season kick-starts here and he can make a challenge for the top 3 in the championship. But here we go for qualifying at St Nathan B in week 3 of the GT Sport Club 100 Championship. So everyone will be on the medium tyres heading out for this qualifying session, and everyone will go out as early as they possibly can. It'd be great if you can if anybody wants to leave any comments or anything in the chat, feel free, and we will hopefully have some questions to answer. Hello to Jack Balding Racing 25. It is a great championship, Jack, and hopefully maybe we can run something which is not as Club 100 exclusive at some point, and get everybody to join in. Just having a look, and then we can allow a lot more people to join. Sadly, unlike the iRacing Championship where we can have 60 odd drivers on some of the tracks, this only allows us to have 14 and the space for a commentator, so it's a little bit restrictive in the numbers we can have. Maybe we can run some extra lobbies as well at some point and maybe have a promotion and relegation system, but we'll have to look into it. I know Sam's got a few ideas if we run another series, and we'll go from there. But I'm glad you can join us to watch, as there should be some exciting racing. I can see Martin Robinson already with a penalty to get rid of onto his fast lap. But here is our reigning champion, Ryan Sandell, who is starting his first qualifying lap of the night. And I can call it the night because it is literally night time for these guys out on the circuit. So Ryan keeping it nice and calm for his opening lap, just putting in a banker lap probably, and this is where he probably puts in a lap time that's pole position and then never gets beaten. But it's always good to get a banker lap in. 7.5 minutes remaining of this session, plenty of time to get a lap in. This lap time is about a 1:24 from testing, so 5, maybe, yeah, probably about 5 more laps they could do if they really wanted to. So here comes Ryan round the final section of sweeping corners. Ironically reminds me of the old Barcelona before they put the chicane in. And he clips the inside, runs out a little bit wide, but gets the run out. Steve Brown close behind, so we'll just see what happens across the line. There's a 1:24.9 for Ryan Sandell, 24.7 for Steve Brown. So into provisional pole position goes Steve Brown. I'm just wondering why Marky Boy moves up into second place. But it is Steve Brown with a provisional pole position for now. Treviso moves up into third place, and Nathan Maximum moves up into third place ahead of Trevor Randall now. A great early lap there by Eric Mignon in 6th, Alex Wilmot in 7th, and Kirif Kalirai in 8th. That's after the opening laps of this qualifying session. Just to, if we do decide to run a series with a bit more of an open field, we will probably do a video about it and post it out on social media so that everybody can try and find it, because we'll want as many drivers as possible to fill the 2 lobbies. How many people will race in it, I'm not 100% sure, because this was technically set up for a bit of fun at first, but we'll see what happens. So Ryan Sandell moves up into provisional pole position. Can Steve Brown beat him? No. So there's 74 thousandths of a second between the 2 of them. And Marky Boy still sits in 3rd. Nathan down to 4th. Tim Clark moves up to a 5th with a 24.8, sorry. I'm getting my tongue all mixed up. I've still got the team versus team from last night stuck in my head. Trevor Randall moves down into 6th. Martin Robinson in 7th. And Eric Mignon still up in 8th. That could possibly be, if he stays there in the top 8, it will be his best qualifying of the season, and possibly of last season as well. So Eric doing a brilliant job there so far in qualifying. 9th currently is Jack Cameron Drayton. Alex Wilmot's dropped 10th. We have somebody off in the gravel up here. It's a spin. Is that Steve Brown? No, it's not. It must be... Yes, it's Sam Dimolo, who's sitting in 13th currently. Spin for him on the exit of turn 8. And we have Peter Harris bringing up the rear, but certainly hasn't set a standard time at the moment because he's 14 seconds off the pace. We've got just under 4 minutes remaining. Steve Brown has gone quickest again, so he now has provisional pole position. Could this be Super GT's first pole position of the season, as Peter runs wide there coming out of the final corner? Let's see what lap time he can come up with. He crosses the line and he stays 14th, but he's certainly closed the gap, and that's a more respectable lap time for Peter. We have Steve Brown still in pole position. A couple more laps for each driver possibly. He's only in pole position by 17 thousandths of a second. Very close qualifying session here. We've got Steve, then Ryan, then Ridout, Maximin, Clark and Randall all running really close. The top 6 covered by 0.4 of a second, which is something you can really try and find in a slipstream down the main straight. I'm not sure if you could gain full 0.4, but at least a couple of attempts there. As you can see, Trevor Randall currently following one of, is that Tim Clark just in front of him? Yes, it is. So he's pulling the slipstream, and between them there's only 44 thousandths of a second as Martin Robinson pops it up into 4th. That's a great lap by Martin. Mark Ridout improves, Alex Wilmot improves, but no change in position there for those 2 drivers. And Tim Clark drops to 7th because up into 4th place has gone Trevor Randall. That's more like it from Trevor. Remembering Trevor is on a controller for these laps, so that is a brilliant lap to compete alongside Martin, who I think is also on a controller. So 4th and 5th on controllers, the rest on wheels. Got Jack Cameron Drayton, who's moved up into 8th place at the moment. And there's the night sky settling in, the moon shining across the circuit. I've never seen ignored yellow flag there come up on GT Sport, but it has. So Trevor has gone back to the pits, and I think that will be his qualifying session over with.
That is that's bad, Dave. We need to turn flags off when we create the lobby.
I didn't even know. I've never seen that come up on the game actually before, so
it's very, very rare. But yeah, when you create a lobby, always remember to turn that off, because they're a bit silly.
We'll have to let Sam know that one.
No one follows yellow flags anyway in real life, do they?
No.
Especially not in Club 100.
No, you don't need to follow any yellow flags.
Give them a wave and put your foot down.
Yeah, exactly. It's the old Mika Hakkinen way, isn't it? I've got one hand off the wheel, so I'll keep my foot in. So as I said before, this is Jay Elliott alongside me. Jay, you say you've had a few laps around here just for a quick spin. What is it that you like about this circuit?
I think it's one of those that's come up quite often for me in the past. So I just seem to have done quite a few laps around it, and I think it's quite an aggressive drive. Like, it's very grippy. There's a lot of on-camber corners where you can really hit it, and things like gear selection are really important as well. And it's a fun track. Apart from the last corner is awkward. But apart from that, it's just really aggressive and smooth and flowing. It seems to suit my style, I guess. But hopefully it'll produce some good racing as well.
I have to agree with you. It's a circuit that has popped up for my racing quite often, and I don't know why, I just enjoy it. And I think with that final corner being so awkward, if you race in, say, a daily race or whatever, people do make mistakes there, and it's one of them that if you just pull it back sort of 2% or whatever in that final corner, you can gain so much down the straight. Down in our qualifying session, though, has just finished, and I think it's going to be Steve on pole position at the moment. Mark Ridout's in the pit. Oh, Nathan has just took pole position with a 24.3 on the final lap. Oh, breaking Steve Brown's heart there. I'm sure he won't be too worried. Trevor Randall out on a lap at the moment. We're just riding on board with him as he comes. Oh, yeah, he's lost that. He's definitely not going to gain anything from that. So that's Trevor's qualifying over. Martin's stuck in 6th. Tim Clark in 7th. Jack Cameron Drayton 8th. Eric Mignon 9th. I think that's possibly his best qualifying of the season. Sam Dimlow in 10th. Alex Wilmot in 11th. Keith Callirai in 12th. But Peter Harris in 13th. And Callum Brule down in 14th. The top 11 are covered by less than a second.
What's Callum been doing? He's been drinking or something?
I haven't got a clue what he's been doing. Sitting in the pits by the looks of it. This is the race that he normally gets on with as well. But there's our results popping up on the screen. As you can see, 1.4 seconds cover the whole field, and a second covers top 11. But here we are at Sardegna Road Course B. Nathan Maxman on pole, Steve Brown second, Ryan Sandell in third, and Ridout in fourth. That's your front two rows. We're just waiting for the lights. We might actually see the lights this week, actually. If they all come on. Yeah, there we are. We got 2 lights, 3 lights. There's the 5th light, and we're away here at Sardegna B. It's a good start from the front row. Steve Brown, everybody just suddenly gets into a line because they know the slipstream is so strong down the straight. But it's Nathan who leads, Steve Brown in second. Steve dodges out and tries to go right around the outside. That won't work. Mark Ridout's moved up ahead of Ryan Sandell into that corner, and he moves up into 3rd place. And I think that's a great start by Jack Cameron Drayton in 5th, and it's chaos behind.
Was that Trevor in the gravel a little bit? Let's see if he carries on or if he quits.
Look. Yeah, Trevor down in 14th.
He's still going round.
He's still going round. We'll flip back to the start and see if we can. Yeah, we can see what happened here to Trevor. Sitting in 5th place, and he just gets caught up. And I think that's Tim Clark going up the inside of. It was a white car, so it must have been Callum's teammate Martin Robinson. And the two just run wide into Trevor, and that's what put him out into the gravel.
I think Tim, well, from first look, that looks like Tim was a bit over optimistic.
Yeah, he went for a move,
he can see it's too wide, and he's missed the apex and used the middle car to help him get round, and Trevor's ended in the gravel.
It might explain how Jack got through as well, because while them three were fighting, Jack Cameron Drayton dived up the inside, and I think he started down in 8th or 9th, so he's up to 5th already. But Steve Brown is all over the back of Nathan Maximum at the front, and I think we've got a 4-car trainer pulled away at the front of Maximum, Brown, Ridout and Sandell.
It's going to be really tough to get away here.
The front four have sort of pulled a little bit of a gap, but I don't think anyone will pull out, as you say, into a lead and get away and dominate the race like Nathan's had a chance to do in a couple of races.
As long as there's, yeah, sorry, Dave. I was saying, as long as there's 3 or 4 of them, they will battle a bit, because then track position means something. So there's hope for 5th downwards if they start batting a bit.
Sorry, Ridout just running wide into the gravel there. He doesn't lose position, but just had to hold on to the car and make sure it didn't spin out, because we saw that from Sam Dimolo in qualifying. Further back, Jack Cameron Drayton is holding off Tim Clark for 5th place at the moment, and Sam Dimolo is right behind him with Mark Robinson, who was involved in that first corner incident, down in 8th place. But back on the battle for 3rd place, and Sandell has gone to the outside of Ridout. I'm not sure he's going to get round the outside of there. Not many people outbrake Ridout on the outside, and he doesn't, and has to tuck back in. But these two have now lost touch with the front two, who are now starting to stretch their gap to a 2nd between the two groups. But Sandell, the champion, knows how to win these races, knows how to take his time. He probably also knows that Ridout's made mistakes in these cars before in the opening round, so he might be just sitting there piling on the pressure. As Sandell now goes to the inside of turn 8, keeps Ridout out wide, and that is a textbook move up the inside of turn 8. Just have a look back at that actually, and it's Sandell lining it up nice through the sweep of the bottom of a hill at the bottom of a quarry, just goes to the right hand side, squeezes his way past, stops on the X, just textbook by Sandell.
What's the gap now, 2nd and 3rd?
Well, more importantly, we have 1st and 2nd side by side, and Steve Brown has a little bit of an overlap. He's gone to the outside and he takes the lead. I don't know whether Nathan made a mistake in that final corner there, but that is a great little move from Steve Brown, who probably knows this track better than anybody else on the grid. I'm sure he's done thousands of laps around this circuit or into that hairpin. And Steve Brown now leads, looking for his 1st win of the season and the 1st win for Team Quadrant. But Nathan Maxman has not given up. You can see him tying himself onto the back of Steve Brown, and he's just going to wait till the main straight by the looks of this and try and pull exactly the same move as Brown did on him. These two have a 1.3 second lead over Ryan Sandell, so they can't start battling tooth and nail just yet, because Sandell is certainly in touch. And I've just realised we've lost Mark.
Oh my word.
Mark has dropped down to 8th place. We'll check the replay and just see whether we can get wide. No, he'd already lost it before turn 8, so must have been a spin somewhere out on circuit. But he is now down to 8th place. And it's exactly what we were saying last week with Mark. If he cuts out mistakes, the results will come, and it did in the 2nd race last time. He finished 2nd, but now he's just struggling, you know. Oh, and he's just ran into the back of Keith Calirai into the 1st corner. He's backed off to let him back through, but that was a bit of a confusing one. Kirith actually ghosted, and Mark ended up in the back of him as he came back onto the circuit as an actual car. But back to the front, we've got Steve Brown and Nathan Maxman covered by 3/10 of a second, and Ryan Sandell not far behind.
Nathan will be really tempted to work with Steve here, won't he? And try and keep that gap to Ryan.
Well, I would agree with you, but Nathan is not looking in any mood to stay in line and keeps having, I think we say, half looks at Steve Brown, but certainly not committing to the move just yet. But they are still pulling away from Ryan. It's now 1.5 seconds back to third place, and these two are certainly pushing each other down the straight, but in the corners they seem to be holding each other up a little bit.
I think this is him saying, yeah, let's do it.
No, he's just had Nathan having a look around the outside, trying to pull off Steve's move that he pulled on him into turn one, not doing it this time. And these two actually not quite touching. Nathan likes overrunning into the grass a little bit. Looking further back, Sam Dimolo, who qualified down in about the bottom half of the top 10, I think, is up into 5th place. And I think this is the best showing we've seen from Sam this year so far.
Yeah. He didn't seem that quick in practice, did he? I went out and I was quicker than him after my second lap, so he's obviously gained some time somewhere really quickly. That's a fantastic performance.
Plenty of consistency, I think, there for Sam. He's got Martin Robinson behind. Obviously, Trevor made his mistake. Trevor has recovered back up into 8th place. But where has Mark gone again? Mark is down in 12th place and currently fighting Jack Cameron Drayton for 11th as he just gets back through. So that's another mistake possibly there for Mark. Hopefully he's not getting himself too rattled. And
he was so good last night, wasn't he, in the team versus team against the French?
So consistent in the team versus team. Him and Nathan were just
impeccable.
Inch perfect as well, I was going to say. It's just, Mark always says he's better with the road cars than race cars, but I'm not really sure why that is. As he goes to the inside, and he's going to do two at once here, not quite, and he's going to miss out to Jack Cameron Drayton jumping up the inside. And that was a bit of a move with hope, I think, for Mark. But he's now just trying to stay out the back of Kiev Kalirai, who he hit earlier, and Peter Harris has joined in the fun. But at the back is Callum Brewell still.
Is Callum like? Feels like he's on a controller or something. Or...
I'm not quite sure with Callum. I think we'll have to find out in the break. But it's certainly
Even if he'd had zero practice, that wouldn't explain this.
Yeah, but it seems to be a lack of pace for Callum for some reason. Has he concentrated on the team versus team too much? But I wouldn't think so.
It's not a hard track to learn. He should be there.
No, it's a track we've been round
his
quite
dad's saying
often.
he is on the wheel. Just wondered if it was broken or something. Just wondered why he's got no pace.
He is on the wheel, zero practice.
That's no excuse, Dad. He should be quicker than this.
He should have been doing his homework.
There's a few out there with zero practice. I mean, to be fair, if he's never done the track before as well, that would add to it.
Yeah. But back at the front, we now have a battle of three cars. Steve Brown, Nathan Maxman, and Ryan Sandell has caught up to the back of this, and the three of them are covered. You could cover them with a blanket now. Steve with a little touch of 3/10 lead, and Sandell is now looking all over the back of Maxman for second place. Maxman defends into turn 8. Sandell looks for a cutback, and he'll probably look for a cutback out of turn 9 as well. Doesn't quite make it through. He'll sit there and wait for the main straight. But on top of this, we may still have another 4-car battle, because in the background Tim Clark is slowly creeping up on these two who are battling for second place. Sandell in the slipstream pulls out Maximin has left a gap on the inside, only a car width, but he's left enough, and Sandell moves up into second place. That's a very clean overtake there by Ryan. Maximin gave him room, but really that is a battle for the championship at the moment. They're covered by a point, so that will swap it back the other way, and this result also for Steve Brown would put him back well and truly in the championship, only 7 points off the lead. But Sandell now getting his head down and heading after Steve Brown. It's a 9/10 of a second lead for Steve. Haven't seen any of his fans in the chat at the moment. It'd be great if they come and joined us. But Sandell running a little bit wide there. Maximin taking half a look. Just going to slow him down. And Tim Clark is coming back. Sitting only 2.1 seconds off the lead and only 9/10 off this battle. He might actually get a little bit of slipstream this time by. As the battle resumes for second place, Sandell has sent Maximin to the outside. There's a bit of door banging as they come over the hill, but Sandell is not given room, and Maximin is going to get run out wide, and Sandell continues to hold on to second place. But this fighting is just helping Steve Brown pull away at the front in the team quadrant car. So here we are on lap 10. Steve Brown leads with just under a second lead from Ryan Sandell. Nathan Maximin sits in third, with Tim Clark close behind in fourth. A 4-second gap back to Martin Robinson in fifth, who's holding off Sam Dimolo in a good day for team quadrant. Alex Wilmot in a brilliant 7th place so far after qualifying outside the top 10. Trevor Randall on his recovery drive after the first corner is up into 8th place. Jack Cameron Drayton has dropped to 9th after his early start, with 10th place Eric Mignon right behind him. Mark Ridout on his recovery drive has just moved past Keith Calirai for 11th place, while Callum Brewell is in 13th after he's gained a position, as we just flick to him as he runs wide, and he's just ahead of Peter Harris, who has possibly made a mistake to drop there behind Callum, because there was a gap between the two of them beforehand. But we have 5 minutes 20 remaining, and Steve Brown still leads this race, controlling it from the front, as we've seen in many of his videos before, whether it's kart races or Gran Turismo races, and smoothly, not making any mistakes, but using all the track, not taking any risks. But Sandell is closing in. He's only 7/10 behind now, and holds the fastest lap of race, which is an all-important extra point for Sandell. Maximin in third place will be looking to try and tow along with Sandell towards the front to keep himself away from Tim Clark, as he actually runs wide there. That won't help him onto the main straight, and actually puts Tim Clark that little bit closer, only 7/10 off the back of Maximin now. Could Tim Clark steal away this podium at the end of the race? We've got 4 different teams in the top 4, 5 different teams in the top 5 actually, so showing how competitive these groups of drivers are when we split them into their teams at the start of the season. But at the very front, Sandell is there, and it's Brown versus Sandell for this victory at this moment in time. The darkness is settling in, the lights are ablaze, and Sandell has caught Steve Brown and is looking for a way through. Will he take a couple of laps sizing him up, or just absolutely nail him in a braking area to get the job done? Sandell weaves behind. We're on board with him now. He goes to the outside. Brown defends into turn 8. Sandell looking for that cutback that he did before on Maximin. He's got the cutback heading up the hill, but he's on the outside for the next corner. So he technically takes the lead for a second, but Brown knows how to shut off the line and does so. But then they will go into the final corner and onto the pit straight with the slipstream very much in tow as Maximin comes up the inside. Where did he come from? I thought he was much further back, but no, Maximin dives to the inside. We'll take a look back at that in a minute, but we're on board with Maximin. The line is there, and Tim Clark is in this fight for victory. So we have 4 cars for victory. Steve Brown slightly ghosts there, and Maximin is inside of Steve Brown. Steve runs him out slightly, and it is as you were, as Sandell now looks to the inside of Maximin. They're diving all over the circuit. Maximin trying to get past Brown. Sandell heading to the outside of Maximin. That will be a brilliant move if Sandell can pull that off, and he does. He's holding on to the inside line. Will he force him out wide? Yes, he does, and he's done it. That's a brilliant move by Ryan Sandell. We'll just flick back to that very quickly. Just heads to the outside, round the outside of Maximin, holds the line, just given enough room, and he completes the move into turn 4.
This is attack is the best form of defence, isn't it? Any sniff, they're just going for it. It is like a Club 100 sprint race.
It's got to be honest, because the only person I would like to be in this train is Tim Clark, because you've got absolutely no one behind you to worry about, and you can just go for it. They've got a 5-second gap back to Sam Dimolo in 5th, so you can just go for it, and you're still going to finish 4th, hopefully, unless you roll the car or something. But Sandell is still defending from Maximin, still having to defend, and Brown is now stretching his lead slightly. He's got a couple of car lengths, but this group will soon close that back down. It's 1 minute, just over 1 minute remaining, so this will be the last lap, I think. It's going to be close, actually. Just having a look with the time remaining. Let's have a look. Have we got some? 1:26 was Tim Clark's last lap, as Tim now goes on the attack of Nathan Maximin, and that is for the final podium position. He will have the inside into turn 8.
Has he kept it?
And he takes it nicely up the inside, but Maximin will look back. We've got 25 seconds remaining. Who will make it to the line to get another lap in? Ryan Sandell is making sure Steve Brown cannot back off in this final bit of race. 13 seconds remaining.
They'll get there, won't they?
I think the top 4 will get there. Brown taking a very tight line to make sure the slipstream doesn't come in, and they cross the line. They're on the final lap. All 4 of them made it onto the final lap. Martin Robinson has finished the race in 5th, Sam Dimolo in 6th, Trevor Randall in 7th, Alex Wilmot will take 8th. Just
Nathan had Tim there, but he then ran wide onto the gravel. And Nathan got him back again.
Curve Calirai comes home in 9th. 10th goes to Eric Mignon. 11th to Jack Cameron Drayton. 12th to Callum Brewell. Mark Ridout finishes down in 13th in the end, and Peter Harris in 14th. But we'll head back to the front because Ryan Sandell is really pressuring Steve Brown into turn 8 on this final lap. Brown defends, still looking for the cutback, Sandell, but Brown is very clever. Will he park it on the apex? Yes, he does. Sandell looks for it, but I don't think he's going to have enough time unless Brown makes a mistake into this final corner, which we know Steve, he's probably not going to. He keeps it tight, slightly misses the apex, but he gets a run. Sandell is all over him, and it's a drag race to the line. Who's going to take this? It could be Ryan Sandell, to be honest. And it's drag race to the line, and Sandell takes it on the line from Steve Brown. Nathan Maxman in third and Tim Clark in fourth, and the winning gap was 63 thousandths of a second.
What a race, mega race.
How did he do that?
Ryan's last corner was mega.
I think he just threw everything at it.
Oh, it was just... That corner is about precision. Really is about precision. And Steve didn't get it too right, but you got to give credit where it's due there. I think Ryan, that last corner was just brilliant. Under pressure as well.
So that will be Ryan's second win of the season. First time he's actually took the fastest lap this season, because all 4 of them so far have been taken by Nathan. So that's the first time that somebody other than Nathan has took the fastest lap. Steve Brown will be gutted at second place after leading the whole race, but that moves him closer to the championship battle. Nathan Maxman in third, Tim Clark in fourth. Fifth goes to Martin Robinson, who continues his consistency in this season. Sam Dimlow takes a season best sixth by a long way. That's a great result. Trevor Randall in seventh. Alex Wilmot with a season best eighth. Kirv Calirai in ninth. Eric Mignon in 10th. I think that's season best for him. Jack Cameron Drayton in 11th. Callum Brule 12th. Ridout in 13th. And Peter Harris in 14th. I actually think Mark handbraked across the line and lost a load of positions, which I don't think is the brightest idea in the world. But we will now take a short break, if you want one, and we will be ready for the race here in Barcelona. I think, did Sam say 11:45? 9:45?
Yep, that's what's on the chat. 9:45.
Yeah, so we'll take a 5-minute break, and we'll be with you in just before the start of the race here at Circuit de Catalunya. Welcome back to live coverage of the Club 100 GT Sport Championship Season 2. This is week 3. We're over halfway through the season now, and we're here for the reverse grid tyre wear race at Circuit de Catalunya. This race will be a reverse grid of the last result, so we will see Peter Harris on pole with Mark Ridout in second. Alongside me we do have Jay Elliott. I believe he is still there.
Hello, how's it going?
He is still there. Didn't know if you'd gone off for another tea. I remember
It's a good idea, though.
Weren't you finishing off a kebab last week or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's turned into takeaway night now because I take over the front room. I've got to appease the missus, I think, to get what she wants in.
Yeah. So Circuit de Catalunya. Opinions on it?
It's definitely one with divides people, doesn't it? It's obviously boring to watch when it's F1, and it's not amazing to race on. I don't think there's a lot of awkward corners, right? That last section is just Mickey Mouse, a bit like that bit in Brazil that's Mickey Mouse, and the old bit they used to have at Indianapolis infield.
Yeah.
It's not enjoyable. There's a few corners on there that are enjoyable, but I mean, it's somewhere different. It's a famous track. It's a big track, and hopefully it will make for some good racing. I think it's one of the only tracks that you can race in the dark in, so I think that's why we've ended up with it.
Yeah, that probably helps. I mean, with regards to the F1, I think they just have too much data on the place because they spend their time testing there all winter, and that doesn't help the situation. But I think we have seen some good races around here. I think back to Maldonado winning in 2012, and I think it was Verstappen in 2016, I think. Yeah, 2016 sounds about right, when the two Mercedes took each other off. But yeah, Schumacher's driving 96, but we haven't got wet weather today, so. But we are looking at Ryan Sandell, your championship leader, winner of the last race by the smallest of margins to the line. I'm not even sure how he out-dragged Steve Brown now, but he did do. So we're just going around having a bit of a practice, getting used to the cars. Remember, there's ×5 tyre wear on today for this race. The question is, how many stops is it going to be? I haven't done any testing. I don't think Jay has himself either. So, and I haven't really heard from anybody what sort of tyre wear is like around here, to be honest.
I would imagine, Dave, it's not a lot of long, hard corners. It shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, turn 3 comes to mind. It will be hard on the front left.
Yeah.
But if you can survive that, I don't think it's, you haven't got the fast final sector it used to be, because you've got that, as you said, the little chicane, which I don't think anybody likes. But if you had the sweeping corners through that final sector, it might be a bit different. And we've got to remember that on the new circuit, it's not on this game, but they are changing turn 10, I think, for the Grand Prix this year, and making that a bit more sweeping instead of tight, which is strange because they've only just changed it to a hairpin a few years ago.
Is that going to encourage more overtaking?
I'm not sure it is, because it's not a heavier braking area, so it seems a very strange. I'm not quite sure why they've done it, to be honest. If you're not going to bring back the full section where it's all flowing and keep that stupid chicane in. Sorry, personal opinions getting in the way of that chicane there, but looking at the race, who do you think we should watch out for? We got Mark Ridout on the front row because of his issues in the last race.
I think normally this is Roswald and Tim, isn't it? Race 2.
It certainly will be with Tim. He loves his tyre wear.
He loves his tyre wear, and Ryan is also very good on tyre wear. Obviously Nathan, Mark, Tim, they'll be on the same pace. Steve will be on the same pace. Steve had a different strategy last week, didn't he? And I think it cost him really.
Yeah,
it was just one lap different to Ryan, and that cost him the race in the end.
Yeah, just seen actually Steve practicing a pit stop actually, practicing his entry. But here we go for the race. Here at Circuit de Catalunya, it's a full Grand Prix layout in the GR3 class. There's Peter Harris on pole, Ironman himself, Ridout in second, Callum Brewell looking for a good result in third, Cameron Drayton in fourth, Mignon in fifth, and Kiev Kalirai in sixth. So we wait for the lights to come on above the cars, and hopefully we will have a clean race down to turn one. It's a long run down there. The lights are on and we're away. A great start by Callum Brewell in third place. Second place Mark Ridout bogged down slightly, but I think Brewell is going to lead by the time we get to turn one. Stuff that, he's already in the lead. Peter Harris is in second place, and a dive up the inside by Trevor Randall moves him up into third. Great start by Trevor Randall there. Everyone making it through turn 2. Will they all make it through the sweeping turn 3? It's a whole gaggle of cars outside the top 5. Right behind we've got Steve Brown, moved up into 10th place so far. He's alongside championship leader Sandell, but everybody has got through nicely. I think, is that Nathan up in 9th place as well? So all the championship rivals are still in there, right in the middle of the pack, but it is Callum Brewell who leads out in front in the Mercedes.
Yep. Trevor and Mark will want to get to the front quickly, I think, but especially in Callum, you've got people who could have decent pace, and Peter's been getting faster and faster, so it won't be an easy job.
As Maximin goes up the inside of Kalirai into the hairpin, and that solves that one. And we'll just have a look back if we can, because I think Trevor Randall, who's now got past Peter Harris, had a brilliant start, and down into turn 1, I think we can pick it up now.
He was up the inside, didn't he?
He was just weaving round the whole traffic. It was almost an Alonso type start, and dives to the inside just a car width, and up into third place at the time. We've got Peter Harris, his teammate, just behind as well. So as they come across the, well, they haven't come across the line, they're halfway around the second lap. Callum Brewell still leads, but Trevor Randall is closing that gap down. Further back we've got Cameron Drayton being challenged by his teammate Maximin. Now they are not working together, they're side by side with 2 green McLarens, but Maximin has made it through. Yeah, he's just got through, but that is good for Maximin.
Mark made a few mistakes and was creating a bit of a bottleneck there, so he's lost the slip of Bajonski.
You can still see just in the background there is Ryan and Steve trying to catch onto the back of this pack behind Martin Robinson. But and Sandell goes to the inside of Robinson, doesn't quite make that step this time round. Oh, he's still alongside into here, and he's made it through, so Sandell up into 8th place as Ridout runs wide, and that's let Maximin through. A few mistakes coming from Ridout now.
Yeah, that was a bit of a funny one. It's like he went wide, and then Nathan did touch him, but
and Peter Harris is round. Sorry to interrupt, but Peter Harris is round in the on the chicane, and he will drop to the back of the pack. I will just flick to the replay and see if we can see what happened with Mark. Just ran wide by the looks of things, with the indicator flashing actually, so whether he let Nathan through or whether that's just stuck on, I'm not sure. But back at the front, Callum still leads from Trevor Randall. Now, this is weird because Callum doesn't normally get on with these races. It's normally the first race he gets on with.
He might be absolutely burning through his tyres and fuel, but he seems to have done some practice on this one.
Just looking, yeah, he's not too bad on the tyre wear, to be honest. So it's Callum Brewell who leads the race, and he's led from the start after a brilliant launch off the line actually. Trevor Randall in second. Maximin has worked his way through the field from 12th to 3rd in the opening 3 laps, but
his tyres are brand new as well. Nathan's tyres look absolutely brand new.
He has Mark Ridout close behind. Keith Callery is up into 5th. Ryan Sandell in 6th. Cameron Drayton spins off into the grass, goes grass rallying in a McLaren and drops down to 11th. We'll just go on board with him here on the replay and see if we can see what happened. Just got on the power too early out of a hairpin and has to cut the corner to rejoin safely. And actually Cameron Drayton now comes into the pits, takes advantage of that to take the first pit stop of the race. It's quite early for a pit stop I think, but he might have burnt out the tyres there. As he heads back out, that was a quick stop, but down in 14th now.
Definitely seems like a strange decision, doesn't it? I think even one slide shouldn't do your tyres in that much.
I suppose we only saw one slide, so could be one of many. We've got just over 24 minutes to go. The top 2 have pulled away here and still lead Nathan by 2.5 seconds. Nathan is slowly catching, but not at a huge rate of knots, just taking it easy on his tyres. I think the drivers will be trying to look at a one stop in this race, so they'll want to get to about 15 minutes to go before they swap the tyres.
Callum's tyres are similar to Nathan's. Callum's doing really well on his.
Don't want to sound harsh, but that's the first time Callum's been able to say that.
It's normally not been too bad. It's normally been his pace, I think, in the second race, rather than the tyre. This season, anyway, it seemed to be a bit better, a bit smoother.
In 4th place, Sandell is trying to take that train of cars with him. He's got Callery and Brown close behind. Tim Clark is in 7th and Sam Dimlow continuing his strong day in 8th. But actually the fastest lap of the race is still Callum Brewell's. So he's actually got the outright pace here. It's not just because of the reverse grid. He's leading the way. And as I say that, Maximin takes the fastest lap with a 43.4 compared to Brewell's last lap of a 44.3. So Maximin took a second out of Brewell's lead in that lap on lap 4. Yeah, lap 4.
That's a mega lap.
Just looking what Trevor did. Trevor did a 44.6, so he wasn't actually any quicker than Brewell. Brewell actually pulled away from Trevor. I think in the championship Trevor doesn't have to worry so much. Oh, as Callum gets the swapper on there out of a hairpin, but managed to hold on to it. Trevor will be looking at Maximin more than he will be looking at Brewell, I think.
So, someone who always does well in these long races is Kirith. For some reason, he just really steps up in these races.
There is the one thing with Kirith. He seems to step up, but I always think he's a bit quiet, and then just after pit stops, he just pops up out of nowhere. Sometimes, and you're just like, where did he come from?
He's tucked in here behind Steve, just happily following him round.
Yeah, there is Kirith on your screens. I'm sure you'll be doing a video of this event maybe later on in the week, but he is just following Steve Brown, not trying to dive around. He gets a bit of wiggle on out of the chicane, but he actually has his teammate Tim Clark behind, who's also very good at these longer races, looks after the tyres really well. But We have our first, shall we say, proper pitter, as Martin Robinson has headed into the pits. But I've just noticed Sam Dimolo down in 12th. Has he made a mistake or has he pitted? Mark Ridout also in the pits. And Dimolo comes out alongside Robinson and just about makes it ahead of him. So at the moment it's Ridout who brings up the rear, but he has stopped.
Kirov was 100th outside of getting the toe on the main straight for Steve, and he's just lost a couple of tenths since then, so he's going to have to stay with him on pure pace now.
Just flicking back on replay, we can see the move from Maximin to go into second place past Trevor Randall. Nice clean move into turn 4, and now the fastest man on the circuit is up into second place and trying to close the gap to Callum Brewell. Callum currently with a 4/10 lead. I think we'll be looking at them people who have pitted now doing the 2-stop strategy throughout this race. These guys at the front will be hoping to do a 1, I'd think.
Callum's been working his tyres this last lap or two, and they've not been good laps either, so that does tend to happen actually. If you're not smooth, you find your slower laps, you will actually burn the tyres more, because you're offline, you're making mistakes and you're trying to compensate.
This top 3 have been fighting in terms of a second place battle, and it is slowly bringing Ryan Sandell back into the battle. Kirf comes into the pits now. He changes onto the soft tyres, I think it was there, and he rejoins in 8th place. Where is Steve actually? Steve has dropped behind Tim Clark. I think Steve must have pitted. So Steve Brown has come into the pits, and
Kirith as well, I think.
Is that possibly a... could that be a 2-stop strat by Steve Brown? Let's just have a look what tyres he's put on. He's gone for the soft tyres again, so he's got to go 18 minutes now on this set of tyres. But he's sitting 9.6 seconds behind the leader. Could come into play later on. I think we may also have our... it looks like Mark Ridout may have retired. He's sitting in the pits at the moment, and the car is going nowhere, so Ridout could be out of this race.
Well, he's staying in the pits to get his points for last. I don't think he cares.
Possibly. As Maximin comes into the pits. Sorry to interrupt. Maximin is into the pits, the first of the leaders. Maybe a touch early, but is he going for the undercut? Good stop by the McLaren crew, and out onto the track he comes.
That seems strange. His tyres were so good. As Ryan makes a mistake.
And Steve Brown is going around the outside of him, and Steve Brown, there's a bit of contact on the apex, but Brown is past Maximin. So that has worked for Steve Brown, using the undercut. And he is on fresh tyres. He's defending from Maximin. Maximin goes back to the inside. Can Steve hang it out around the outside here for 5th place? The two are banging doors, but Steve Brown hangs on to it into turn 5, and that undercut has worked for Steve. Now if it's worked for Steve on Maximin, who was in 2nd place at the time, this could put Steve Brown up onto the podium when he was running in 6th place before the pit stops.
Do you think that door banging was on purpose, Dave? It was like a bit of a
I think
on-pitch banter,
I think it was a bit like, you've got your nose alongside, so I'm going to turn towards you and see if you chicken out type thing. Yeah, I think we've all done that on track at times. just headed back to the front, and you saw a little mistake by Callum Brule. He's starting to slide the car. Will he pit this time by? Yes, he does. Brule heads straight for the pits. Tyres have gone. You can see the car sliding about. Trevor Randall also pits as Tim Clark and Ryan Sandell continue on without pitting. So let's see where Callum comes out in comparison to Nathan Maximin, and Steve Brown heads out of pit lane now. And there goes Steve Brown and there goes Maximin. So Callum Brule has lost position to them both, and Trevor has.
That makes sense though, right? It's the undercut. He'll be on stronger tyres now, so hopefully he'll have better pace than them. And
Yeah,
that's the tactic for Ryan and Tim as well.
The question is this going to work for Steve? Because he pitted with about 18 and a half minutes to go. Is he going to be able to make them tyres last after using them up with the undercuts?
It'll be interesting to see how Trevor and Callum get on as well. If they start fighting with each other, that will ruin their strategy.
Yeah, I think they're probably in shock, wondering where Steve Brown's come from, to be fair, because Steve was just behind Ryan, I think, at the time Martin Robinson pitted. And yeah, I don't even know where that pace has come from, to be honest with Steve. I'll see if I can bring up his lap times.
Yeah, his lap time. Yeah. His tyres are going to be a few laps older though, so he'll come back to them.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see whether Steve's going to try and get to the end on this. He is closing in on Tim Clark, who's in second place at the moment. You can see actually he's close. He's almost a pit stop ahead of Tim Clark and Ryan Sandell. So I'm trying to work out whether Steve's actually pitted yet. I didn't see him pit, but he was too far behind not to have.
Oh, Steve definitely pitted. Yeah, you can tell by the tyre wear. Steve definitely pitted.
Here comes Sandell and Clark, who have both pitted. They come out of the pit. There goes Randall. So Ryan Sandell has lost out big time there, going down to 5th place. Brule down to 4th. I think it's almost the top 5 have reversed themselves.
I saw undercut has reversed the order basically. You'll see them. You probably should see them close in now, and maybe Steve is probably the one you're looking at. Might need an extra stop.
Yeah, I think the rest were close enough to 15 minutes to sort of cope with it, but Steve, he's good enough to cope with it, but will he have enough tyres to hold him off? He's currently got a second lead over Maximin, who is 2 seconds ahead of Trevor Randall at the moment, who has got ahead of Callum Brule. He's been waiting all race to do that. Couldn't do it in the pit stops, but has done it just afterwards. But as the sun sets here at Catalonia, the racing is getting red hot as we head towards the end of this race, and so many questions like we've just gone through. Does Steve Brown have to pit again? Will Maximin have to pit again? He only pitted a lap after Brown, and he lost a huge amount on the undercut. I didn't even think it'd be that strong around here.
I think it was a couple of laps.
Was it a couple of laps?
Came in. Yeah, Steve Brown was like 20, maybe it was 18 or 19 minutes. I think Nathan was about 17 minutes. Yeah, maybe it was one. Might have been one lap. I thought it was 2. Let's check their tyres. Steve's tyres are a lot more worn than Nathan's. A lot more. Steve is definitely going to have to pit in again.
We've got 12 minutes remaining here at Circuit de Catalunya. Steve Brown continues to lead, but we have questions over his tyre wear. Maximin is sitting there in second place. Now, do you think Nathan knows this? I've heard he actually listens to the stream sometimes when we're racing. So hello Nathan, if you're watching.
Nathan is really looking after his tyres. Nathan is trying to hold these out in the race.
I've got a feeling he's listening to us and knows that Steve's probably running out of tyres.
I still fancy Ryan for this.
You fancy Ryan? Down in 5th place, currently got a penalty to get rid of.
You lose that on the big braking zone.
He's now closing in on Callum Brule, only 7 tenths back, and not to be discounted at the moment, the two Frey Bentos cars of Tim Clark and Kurt Calleray are not that far off the back of Ryan. If people start fighting, they're still in view to get, as you said before, they're both very good at these tyre wear races and could pop up in there.
Tim's in a good position. He pitted halfway through. Kirith pitted on the same lap as Steve and has not looked after his tyres. He will also need another pit stop.
That'd be a shame for Kirith, who's running in 7th place at the moment. He's 5 seconds ahead of Martin, and pit stops don't take that long on this game, so I've got a feeling he might have enough of a gap to stay in 7th place. 8th is Martin Robinson.
Martin's coming in now anyway for his second stop.
Yeah, Martin comes in for a second stop in the Mercedes. Not the race he was looking for, to hold on to 4th in the championship. But
9th,
he
10th
drops,
and 11th having a good battle as well.
Drops back to 11th as we look ahead to... Oh no, Martin actually gets back out in 8th. And as Jay has said, there is Jack Cameron Drayton, who's ghosted. That doesn't help the racing. Alex Wilmot and Eric Mignon having a good fight here for 9th place, trying to get their top 10s for the points for the teams and trying to get in the top 10 of the championship. But it's Cameron Drayton who leads that battle, who are only 25 seconds off the lead.
Ryan's past Callum, hunting down Trev now. I think what you lose when you overtake, you've probably gained in the slipstream pulling up to him, so shouldn't cost them too much time lap time wise.
We didn't catch it on replay about the move, but that's Callum down to 5th place. Still a strong drive by Callum, but it's just not quite how he was hoping, probably, when he was leading the race quite comfortably from Trevor Randall.
Steve is racing as if he's going to try and make these last.
We're now looking at him with... He rides them curbs very well, and Steve's in the pits. Just as you say that, he comes into the pits.
He was being very defensive with someone who's on a different strategy. That's why I was like, he's slowing himself down, but maybe he knew it was a lost cause.
He's going to come out. Kurt Calleray is in as well. As you stated before, he needed to pit, but here comes Steve out in 6th place. He's 7 seconds off the lead, 2.6 off Tim Clark, and he's got 8.5 minutes remaining. I think he'll be able to gain a position or two back, but I don't think the podium's... I think it's a bit far away now.
Yeah, Nathan's tyres will drop off a lot. He will start to struggle a lot. But not enough laps left for Steve to catch him. I think Ryan is still my favourite for the race.
Well, speak of the devil, and Ryan Sandell in the Dodge Viper has caught up with a fellow Dodge Viper of Trevor Randall, and Trevor will defend this for his life, but Ryan is looking mega quick behind, and I think at the moment Nathan will be happy with it staying like this, but if Ryan gets through, he's going to be starting to feel the pressure.
I'm not sure Trevor should defend. I think Ryan's going to beat him or whatever. I think Trevor should be thinking about the other positions, to be honest.
Are we talking about saying Trevor Randall?
Yeah, Trevor's slowing himself down by defending against Ryan, and that's allowing Tim and Callum and probably Steve the chance to catch him up, and Ryan's inevitably going to get him anyway, so I don't think that's the best idea by Trevor, but then again, if he keeps him behind for the next 7 minutes, then fair enough.
Then you will look the fool. But no, he's got to run on him now. He's got to run on him down the main straight. He goes alongside Callum Brule, pulling alongside Trevor Randall. He'll have the inside for turn 1, and he will be cleanly through and on the charge after Nathan Maximin. Randall trying to hold it round the outside though, into turn 2, and we'll have the outside for turn 3. No, Sandell is through and into 2nd place.
Trevor lost 6 tenths on that lap. That wasn't awful, I suppose.
So
and whatever he lost defending on the first corner as well.
Ryan Sandell's lap behind Trevor was 44.7. The lap for Nathan Maximum was a 43.7. So we'll see what Ryan can do as his first lap in clean air. The gap's 3.3. Tim Clark is past Callum Brewell, and so is Steve Brown. Steve Brown also made it past Callum Brewell. I don't know if Callum's made a mistake there. We'll just flick back on replay. Steve just got run out of a hairpin of turn 5 and took him on the inside of a chicane at turn 6 or 7 and 8, depends which way you number it.
But Nathan's last lap 43.7 on his worn tyres is mega. If he can keep anywhere near that, he could hang on. Assuming he's not burning through his tyres to do it.
So when Steve pitted, I think he was about 7 seconds off the lead or something. He's now 6.6, but he is in the slipstream of Tim Clark and Trevor Randall now, who's falling back into the clutches. I think Trevor might find it quite hard to hold on to this podium with 5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, I think he'll find it very, very hard. Luckily, Callum behind them is on the same strategy as Trevor, so...
Yeah, so it's probably a top 5 for Trevor, but we'll see. There is Sandell. He's gained a 10th so far. That lap was a 44.1, but he was battling with Trevor at the start of it, as Steve Brown has gone up the inside of Tim Clark and up into 4th place. The fight back is on for the 2-stopping Steve Brown, as he now tries to get past Trevor Randall, and then he might have a bit of clear space to try and close down the top 2. I think it might be a forlorn effort, but never give up.
Have you got that on the side of all your cars now, Dave?
What, never give up? Oh, this is going to be tight. Through he comes, and Steve Brown takes Trevor Randall. That was very tight down into the hairpin. We'll flip back to replay of that, but up into 3rd place is Steve Brown. We're on board with him through turn 9. And Trevor defends, and just a dummy by Steve Brown to leave a cart width on the inside. Hits the apex perfectly, and that was perfect by Steve Brown, and drops Trevor Randall down into 4th place. But now Randall has to defend from Tim Clark, who's heading for the outside of turn 1. I'm not sure that's going to work. Oh, he's got the grip.
His tyres are so much better.
And he's gone round the outside in turn 1. That's a great move by Tim Clark.
He's got less laps and he's better at holding the tyres, obviously being on the wheel and being Tim Clark.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the things with tyres. You just have to be Tim.
Yeah, I think Trevor definitely hasn't realised that it was Tim that put him on the gravel in the last race. Otherwise, he might have made that a bit more difficult.
He would have. Yeah, it definitely would have made it more difficult. We'll have a look at replay of it, and that's Nathan. So we got that wrong. We'll have to go back to Trevor. There we go, Tim. It's on board with Tim. He gets the slipstream across the start-finish line. Trevor goes to the inside to defend. Tim goes to the outside. Doesn't look like he's going to make it. Just brakes later and hangs it round the outside and makes it through turn 2 as he leaves Trevor out to dry.
Steve is coming through here, but he really is using his tyres up.
There's 2 minutes remaining, so we're looking at 2 laps left.
Nathan is the one using his tyres the least, and Steve is using them the most. So it's like they're all closing up at the same time. The difference between them is also going to narrow. Don't think we're going to see any action here.
Well, we get the chance, and there's a bit of a calm in the race. Kirk Calirai is still in 7th place, 8th for Martin Robinson, 9th for Alex Wilmot. That's a great run by the newcomer in the top 10. Jack Cameron Drayton in the 10th, 11th for Eric Mignon, 12th for Sam Dimolo, who was looking to build on a great result in the opening race. Peter Harris in 13th, and Mark Ridout still in the pits there. It's like a Mercedes Germany pit stop, isn't it?
I mean, Pete Klajonski is 2 seconds a lap quicker than Bournemouth, than Sam in 12th. The whole race, pretty much. He's just made mistakes.
That's the thing with Peter. He's certainly had the pace in some of these races, especially with reverse grids. He's sat up the front for a while and then just about half distance made a mistake. We saw him spin off, I think it was the exit of the final chicane earlier on in this race. But we have 35 seconds remaining. Nathan Maxman continues to lead, 2.2 seconds in the lead. The gap is coming down, but not by enough.
The front boys will get one more after this.
Maxman comes through the chicane. He isn't in a position to slow it down. 15 seconds remaining, so he will get across the line to start the final lap. Sandell will also get across the line. Will Steve Brown, just with 4 seconds remaining. So the first finisher of the day will be Tim Clark as he crosses the line to take... No, he gets the final lap. Sorry, it was Trevor Randall who finishes in 5th place. Callum Brewell possibly disappointed with 6th in the end after leading the opening stint of the race. Kirk Calleray in 7th, Martin Robinson in 8th. Alex Wilmot is coming home in 9th across the line, with Jack Cameron Drayton not far behind to round out the top 10. Here comes Eric Mignon for 11th. Hasn't seemed to pick up a penalty at the end there, not sure what happened there. Sam Dimlow will come home 2 seconds clear of Peter Harris in the battle for 12th. But we'll head back to the front, and the lead's down to 1.4, but I think Maxman is just cruising it home now, not pushing the car too much. We also have...
Yeah, I think penalty is probably the only thing that will cost him now.
Yeah, it's very easy to pick one up in that final chicane, but with a 1.3 second lead now, Maxman comes around. He's going to try and take his 3rd victory of the season, and after 6 races we're still going to only have had 2 different winners in such a competitive field. But Maxman comes around the final corner and takes his 3rd victory of the season to close the gap on the championship leader Ryan Sandell, who comes home in 2nd place for damage limitation. Steve Brown, brilliant comeback drive on the 2-stop for 3rd place, and Tim Clark comes home in 4th.
State of Nathan's tyres at the end there. Half gone, but right at the rear left.
Is there a drive of the day there for you, Jay, in that race?
I mean, of the race, I guess they'll sort of finish where you expected them to be, really, isn't it? Apart from Marky Boy.
Yeah, Mark pulled out the race earlier on.
Nothing outstanding. Maybe, I guess, Alex is the one who hit above where he normally is. He was in the same sort of pack, but he got to the front of it, so I guess he'll be happy about that.
Yeah, great result for him to get inside the top 10, but after that, I think it's honours even, and going off my quick maths, I think we still have 1 point between Ryan Sandell and Nathan Maxman at the front of the field. This is really going to go down to the final corner of the final race next week. I'm just trying to remember where we're even racing next week. I've just looked at the chat, and Mark Ridout put, I couldn't take it anymore, was enjoying watching it more. Yeah, I don't think it was going too well for him there. Let's just see if I can find the... Got so many things in this chat, there must be a calendar here somewhere. Here we go. So next week for the final rounds, it is Brands Hatch GP for the Aston Martins and Monza for the final race. So that's going to be a fun one. Slipstream all the way, I think.
And a Monza, it'll be the penalties or...
Yeah, try not to pick up a penalty for each chicane.
Yeah, well, I think you will be able to scrub them off into the hard braking zones, but still, you pick up so many.
But with them 2 events left next week and a 1-point championship lead for Ryan Sandell, I think it's all to play for. Steve Brown's still in the battle. Tim Clark's still in the battle. Who's your money on?
Around there, I think Steve is due a win. I fancy Steve to win at Brands.
Yeah.
For the championship, it's Brands. And what's the second race?
Monza.
Yeah, I've got a feeling Nathan is going to come out on top. But yeah, he's got to do what he did today. He's got to do what he did today and really manage those tyres really well.
It'd be nice to see Nathan take it after last year, but then it's hard to back against Ryan, who's so good at coming through the field.
Yeah, really consistent, really smooth. Very smooth style.
I think any of them will deserve it. But that is it for this week. We've had the 2 night races. The discussions will still go on about the tyre wear. I think Steve Brown wasn't sure one stop would work. But next week we will have Brands Hatch GP in the Aston Martins and the GR3 race around Monza. My thanks to Jay Elliott for joining us tonight, and we hope you will join us next week for the championship finale. 1 point between 2 drivers, with at least 4 drivers still in contention. So join us same time next week for some more close, exciting racing in the Club 100 GT Sport Championship. See ya.